COVID-19 has led to many challenges in our life that include our life as a student. It had been 2 years since the student had started learning by using online platform. This experience seems to become a jumping stone for the maturity of a student and also improving their creativity in learning. But this online learning also gives a hard time for some, especially for those in a rural area. The poor online connection had limiting their capabilities, especially in joining the live class. Lately, the case of COVID-19 had decreased. This is because the rate of vaccination had increased. More than 90% of an adult had fully vaccinated in this country. This situation had helped the government to open back the education institution. This giving the opportunity for the senior student to having a face-to-face discussion with lecturers and prof. This may improve the two-way communication between student and lecturer and decrease the misinterpretation of information they receive. Meanwhile, this helped the freshman student to discover a new thing about their university and make a new friend that will make their studies group more comfortable. But we need to remember that we are still fighting against this pandemic even though the case has already been decreased. So, the management of each university had released their own guidelines that are mandatory for the student to obey. This precautionary measure was made so the risk of infection among students are always low. In this video, we're going to explain about how and why these guidelines have to be followed.
Next, I'm going to talk about safety guidelines of COVID-19 in college that we can follow to protect the people of our community and can prevent unnecessary illness. Firstly, we need to bring our own personal belongings such as cutlery, telekong, and stationery to avoid sharing with others. This is because we didn't know whether the people in our vicinity were affected by the virus or not, so this can reduce the risk of COVID-19 transmission. Next, we should wear a face mask whenever we want to go out, whether to the class, cafe, or doing assignments. Wearing a face mask will help prevent the spread of the Delta variant virus as it can spread easily. It means that we can protect ourselves from getting any infectious germs in the air when we breathe. Besides that, social distance also needs to be practiced. For example, when the lecturers or students want to buy foods or drinks at the cafe, this is to minimize the close contact between individuals. We can practice this by providing the maximum line between them so that the spread of the disease can be controlled. Moreover, we need to take care of hygiene, especially our hands, by washing our hands often using soap and water, or at least sanitizing our hands using hand sanitizer that contain at least 70% of alcohol. This is because we don't know whether our hands are fully clean or not, and we can practice this after going to the toilet, before eating, or when we want to touch something. Lastly, we can get updated with the COVID-19 news through MySejahtera. For example, we can check on how many active cases daily so that we can prepare and protect ourselves from any possibilities. Not only that, but we can also take several actions to prevent ourselves from the spread of the COVID-19 virus.
As we know, the spreading of COVID-19 occurs via airborne particles and droplets. People who are got infected by this virus could release particles of respiratory fluids when they cough or sneeze. Indoors, these microscopic particles will continue to spread through the air and accumulate. Therefore, it is vital for you to ventilate your room or any occupied space to avoid these accumulations of virus and get infected by it. Furthermore, as now we are aware of the new wave of infections, students should limit their interactions with people from the outside of the campus. This is just the same concept as social distancing, where we are refrained from going to the crowded places such as the market and the mall. Stay within your campus boundaries as much as possible to lessen the risk, to lessen the infections from the outside source. This is also to make it easy for the authorities to track the sources of infections or close contact when you get infected. within your campus boundaries. In this pandemic, when you are returning back to the campus, you are interacting with your friends and lecturers on a daily basis. Therefore, you need to be more self-conscious with your own health status. If you are showing any major symptoms such as fever or losing sense of your taste or any other major symptoms that has been notified by the Ministry of Health, go and consult with the nearby health center as soon as possible and notify your close contact so that they can be more careful with their own health and take an action such as quarantining themselves. Nowadays, self-COVID-19 test kits are available for community, hence it is highly encouraged for students who want to return back to the campus to self-test. However, it is also suggested that you prepare yourself with a bunch of test kits in case of emergency when you're already in the campus boundaries. It is just for a quick checkup in case you are showing any major symptoms or if you're in close contact with any of the infected persons. In addition, when you are in a public area of your campus, make sure that everyone is following the standard operation procedure that has been announced by the government or the campus authorities. Report any negligence to the campus authorities, and this is just to make sure that everyone is responsible for their own health and safety.
When COVID-19 guidelines aren't followed properly and neglected by the students of the campus, not only will it cause harm towards the students but also towards the fellow community. When personal hygienic guidelines such as proper sanitation and proper masking is not done, the rate of COVID-19 infection will increase. Moreover, not only personal hygienic negligence bears a huge side effect, but also proper social distancing holds an important side effect. Other than that, the sharing of personal belongings will also contribute towards the increase of COVID-19 infections. This is considered to be proper hygiene care, as items such as towels and toothbrushes should never be shared among the students. Proper masking is also important, as improper masking will lead to COVID-19 infections. It is also important to be taken note of that masks should be disposed properly before changing to a new mask. Last but not least, being informed with the latest COVID-19 news is very important, as less awareness will lead to more miscommunication between the students. Important news such as the nearest positive case and the latest hotspot areas should be taken noted of. To summarize up the video, we as a community should all take part in preventing the intense spreading of the COVID-19 virus by following the health guidelines provided by the government and also by the campus. Negligence of this guideline would cause a huge downfall not only towards the students but also towards the overall community. Therefore, together we stand against the spreading of the COVID-19 virus in order to get back our free COVID lifestyle.